Leia, wait! I love you! The voice of my ex-boyfriend Andrew came from literally everywhere. As soon as I hid behind the support of the spaceship, a squad of Imperial stormtroopers immediately rushed past. They could have grabbed me if they were a little smarter. Where to run next, I didn't know. And Andrew, meanwhile, was calling me more and more insistently. I knew he was somewhere close because I heard the buzz of his lightsaber, but I couldn't sit there for long. So in a single bound, I ran to the door and literally flew into it. In an instant, I was on the icy desert of the planet Hoth, and it was really cold here, so much so that my teeth chattered. "Where are you? Leia, we need to talk!" Hearing these words, I jumped on the spot and turned around. There he was, standing right behind me. "You were supposed to fight the rich kids, not join them." I stood in front of him and turned on my lightsaber. Andrew did the same. The battle was inevitable, and our sabers clashed. We fought for a long time because we both took fencing, but I was quicker. I knocked Andrew off his feet and knocked his saber out of his hand. He lost, but I didn't have time for gloating and pompous speeches. Stormtroopers were approaching us. I immediately ran away through the next door and finally found myself outside. Yeah, the movie studio turned out to be very confusing. I was upset that my treasured tour of the set of the new Star Wars movie had turned out to be such a failure. And this spoiled rich kid Andrew is to blame for everything. But not so long ago, he was different. We loved each other. Until he went to the dark side. I didn't have any extra time to take one last look at the studio pavilions. Andrew's guards would soon take off their stormtrooper suits and rush after me. So I jumped on my scooter and drove away. But even the ride home turned into a real blockbuster. Andrew didn't know where I lived now, and I wanted to keep it that way. But I had to dodge and weave around the city to confuse the guards. Unlike their Jeeps, my scooter drove through the lanes easily. But it got into a lot of trouble. One of the lanes took me straight to the square, where it was against the rules to take a vehicle. But I couldn't just leave the scooter. So I kept going, even though I could hear the police shouting after me. It was an idiotic idea, but I wasn't thinking with my head at all. The police didn't chase me, and I'd left Andrew's security behind. I returned home and exhaled with relief because I wouldn't see Andrew again until summer was over. But suddenly, there was a knock on the door. I thought the guards managed to track me down, but it was the police. They managed to write down the number of my scooter and figure out where I went. I tried to justify myself somehow and get them to pity me, but the cops were adamant. I had to give them my license and pay a fine. And just as I was about to hand them my documents, a black limousine with an escort flew up to the house. Now the police stopped paying attention to me and looked at what was happening in shock. Surrounded by security, Andrew stepped out of the limousine. He glared at the policemen and walked towards them. Before I keep going, I should tell you what led to all this. My name is Leia, and this is a story about how I dumped a guy because he got too rich. Frankly, Andrew and I were once enemies, but that was back in elementary school. He pulled my hair, and I poured liquid soap into his sneakers. The pinnacle of our war was the Star Wars controversy. He couldn't believe that a girl was watching those movies. The argument almost turned physical, but then he finally realized that I really knew a lot about the series. So, just a few minutes after we were in a heated argument, we were already chatting as friends. We became best friends because we were united by many things. Along with our love of Star Wars, it was the hatred of spoiled rich kids. You see, we didn't study at a regular school. Andrew and I got there through a competition. Andrew and I didn't care about anything. It was only when they needed to cheat that the other kids treated us normally. But after Andrew and I teamed up, we were able to fight back against the rich kids. Of course, this had its consequences. The girls constantly locked me in the bathroom, which made me miss class. They wouldn't let me eat in the dining room, so I had to carry lunch with me to eat outside. Once they hacked my laptop, and everyone saw my stupid pictures from home. Andrew had it even tougher. The guys fought with him, teased him in every possible way, and tried to get him to violate school rules. Repeatedly, the rich kids went overboard with bullying. Once they hung Andrew upside down in the gym, and it was only an hour later that he was found by a cleaning lady. Common misfortune and interests brought us closer together, and we started dating. Gradually, we opened up to each other. And at some point, Andrew told me about how his parents constantly come up with ridiculous business ideas. He didn't believe in their success and even laughed. But then, everything changed. I saw Andrew get interested in one of his parents' new ideas. They were developing some simple but very important thing for nature conservation. It seems to be small, but it was new to the market. Andrew said that his parents could earn a lot if everything worked out. I vividly remember the first few weeks after Andrew's life was turned upside down. His parents were able to earn not hundreds of thousands of dollars, but millions. Their invention will help not only our planet, but also lead to the colonization of Mars. Elon Musk himself supported them. You should have seen the faces of the rich kids when they found out that Andrew was rich now too. In an instant, all the mockery stopped. Now those spoiled brats had a completely different goal: to make friends with Andrew as quickly as possible. But he still resisted the dark side. At that time, we were happier than ever. We weren't bothered at school, and we could get whatever we wanted. We were stocking up on Star Wars fan merchandise, collectible figurines, and other paraphernalia. All that was left was to visit the Lucasfilm studios. And underneath all this pleasant bustle, I didn't notice how Andrew began to change. It all started when he invited me to go out with his friends. I wondered who they were, because aside from me, Andrew had no friends. Now imagine how surprised I was when I saw my classmates. Yes, it was the guys who hung him upside down in the gym, and the girls who locked me in the bathroom. After I found my voice again, the rich kids heard everything I thought about them. But instead of stinging aggression, they only asked for forgiveness. Andrew convinced me that they did what they did to avoid losing status because it was important to their parents. The rich kids actively agreed, saying that they actually liked us. And I don't know what was going on in my head because I believed them. For several days, we hung out. I never thought that money could bring so much happiness. During this short time, I even managed to visit another country, get behind the wheel of a sports car, and even crash an expensive yacht on the reefs. And I didn't get in trouble for it at all. So I would have plunged into this new lifestyle head first, if not for my tradition with Andrew. Once a year, on a certain day, the Star Wars Festival was held in the city. And after this festival, we bought sweets and watched all the films from start to finish. As always, I dressed up in fan-made merchandise to look like Princess Leia. Andrew always dressed up as a Wookiee. But when I saw him at the festival, I almost dropped my jaw. He was wearing a trendy Gucci bow, some ridiculous chain around his neck, and sunglasses. At first, I thought it was a prank, but I was wrong. Andrew stated that he didn't want to look like a freak, and that dressing up in costumes wasn't necessary to have fun. He offered to give me branded clothes to wear too, but I refused. As a result, the day out was ruined for me. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. Andrew said he was busy and didn't spend the evening with me. So I watched Star Wars alone and flipped through Instagram. And there I saw fresh pictures of Andrew hanging out with the rich kids. The next day I wanted to confront him, but Andrew met me right on my doorstep with an apology. He just said that it was necessary and brought me a gift bag. It was full of trendy teenage clothes, the best ones from this season. And you know, I didn't like them. The clothes were terribly uncomfortable and looked ridiculous on me. As always, I put on my favorite comfortable clothes and went to school. Andrew was waiting there, and with a proud look, declared that I looked like a beggar freak. At that moment, I blew up. I yelled at him in front of everyone and said that after school, we would have a serious conversation. However, he didn't come to the conversation alone, but with his friends. I chased the rich kids off and asked Andrew what was happening to him. The guy calmly said he was finally living a new lifestyle and that he liked it. Big money, big responsibility, he said. Andrew added that you have to always be trendy to have status, and all these fanatics and collectible figurines were just child's play. And what he said next just broke my heart. Andrew told me that if I want to be with him, then I have to match his tastes and looks. I freaked out and replied that we were breaking up. It was only when I got home that I was able to actually let my feelings out. I burst into tears. But apparently I hurt his pride because Andrew tried to get me back however he could. First, it was an airplane that wrote my name in the sky. Then a symphony orchestra with a confession right outside my house. Even my parents were a little scared from the amount of attention he was giving me. He bothered me so much that I temporarily moved to live with my aunt on the other side of the city. For a long time, Andrew filled up my parents' house with money and then gave up and wrote that he agreed to be friends. As an apology, Andrew decided to fulfill my dream and take me to the Star Wars film studio. So, we ended up at the filming location of the film. Only Andrew had a different plan. He wanted to ask me to date again in the form of Darth Vader. But it didn't work for me. I understood that he wouldn't change anymore. This was where my story began. And then I found myself caught in the crossfire of the cops and Andrew. He began to find out what had happened and started posturing to the police, saying that they would be fired if they didn't get out of here. Luckily, the cops were patient and experienced. Andrew said that he can fix all my problems if I ask for his help. I again faced a choice, but I didn't back down from my principles. I refused, gave up my license, and paid the fine. When he saw this, it dawned on Andrew that it was all over between us. He didn't bother me anymore. If you think it ended badly, you're wrong. I made a lot of new friends among the Star Wars fans and transferred to a normal school. And Andrew has already found a girl who fits his new tastes. Sometimes we even text, just to talk about how things are going. Would you have broken up with this kind of guy if you were me, or not? Write your answers in the comments, and like and share this video with your friends.